Good evening, YouTubers. Welcome back in to another edition of Astros Recap. David Artis here once again, here to break things down for you. Another week in the books for the Astros. It is Sunday night, 11:06 p.m., June 6th, 2021, of course. But the Astros, of course, seven games this week, so 5-2. Always take that, especially when they play 7 games. Always 5-2. So usually you're looking at a 4-game set, which the Astros had against the Red Sox Monday through Thursday. They took 3 or 4 there. Then they go to Buffalo to play the Blue Jays, and they take 2 or 3. So that's a very good week for the Astros. Back to 7 games over 500 at 33-26, I believe, is their record right now. So 59 games in the books so far this year. So the Astros got one more game here. Well, not one more game, but I'm sort of comparing this to last year with the 60-game season. Astros obviously went 29-31 in those 60 games, so they'll definitely beat, I guess, that mark, even if they lose. Hopefully not, but we'll wait and see. So, very good week. Trying to thank, obviously, Dusty Baker, who I had a very strong opinion with last year with a bunch of his moves when it came to our bullpen. I like the decisions he made this week. He really let our starters go. I felt like, Luis Garcia surpassed 100 pitches, got through 7 innings. And Framber Valdez, also, second start back from the IL, he went over 100 pitches and got through 7 as well. So, and I had talked about this in the past, that I think that Dusty needs to let our starters go deeper. Let them sort of get to or surpass 100 pitches, because the less innings or outs our bullpen has to get, the better, the way things have looked so far this year. So there's that. Obviously, Eliminates Diaz got hurt. He fractured his hand on hit by pitch. This happened yesterday. So as far as injuries go, that's the big one. Obviously, Diaz fills in very well as a utility guy. Been filling in a lot, of course, with Brantley out. Brantley should be back Tuesday. I heard somebody on Twitter say that Dusty said he should be back on Tuesday. Astros have an off day tomorrow, so if that's the case, then we should be okay if we can stay healthy. Obviously, McCormick has gotten some shots out there. Jordan Alvarez has had 2 starts out in left field. But Diaz plays everywhere. He could play anywhere in the infield, and we've also put him out in left field. So, it just seems like every year Diaz finally starts to get going. He looks good. And then for some reason he gets hurt and he's out for a while. So we'll have to deal with that. We'll see what corresponding roster move is made, who they bring up. But yeah, that's a tough blow. But it's not. At least it's not one of our big guys. So you got Alvarez and Gurriel back. They were dealing with some issues, but you got them back early this week, and now you get you should be getting Michael Brantley back here, which is a big bat we need in the lineup there. But as far as everything else, of course, you got Blake Taylor back. Trying to thank, Brian Abreu's still in the IL. We'll wait on him, but he's not a huge loss at this point. He's been one of the guys struggling in the bullpen. So, but we'll dive into things here. So, obviously, for the Red Sox, Monday was the Memorial Day. After salvaging the finale against the Padres the Sunday prior, of course, avoiding the sweep there. But let's see here if I can get into this here. So let's see. So they take care of business Monday here, as they scored early and often. They win this 11-2. So I won't really go through a bunch of the runs here. Tuve had a home run that bounced on top of the wall. Apparently it cleared the wall. I guess hit the railing in the first row of the Crawford boxes, but actually hit the top or bounced and then back into foul territory, but it was ruled a home run. So there was that. But let's see here. Urquidy, first start back as he was on the DL. So Urquidy no, that was his second start back. Hold on, let me think. No, that was his first start back. Yeah, so he was on the IL for a little bit there. He missed a few starts, but Urquidy getting him back, and he pitched very well. So Urquidy, a guy who started the season pretty good, had a few rough starts in a row, bounced back, but he's think with the rotation, there's a lot of guys that not quote unquote aces, but everybody's basically done their job. So um, had a mishap there for a second, but anyway, so Urquidy went 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, struck out 9, walked only 1. Then, at this point, the game was pretty much out of reach after the 6 innings. The Astros at this point were up, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 9-1. Or I guess that was all 11 runs, actually, yeah. All 11 runs. They're up 11-1 at that point, so he didn't really need to go any further. Bullpen's probably not going to blow a 9-run lead, right? So, but Paredes came in, and I also will credit Dusty for this. I think Paredes, a guy who was a big part of our bullpen last year, but had struggled this year, obviously. I've talked about Paredes, and he just can't throw strikes. But getting him in some low leverage spots, I think, is a way to build up his confidence again. So bring him in the 7th inning, and he actually struck out the side. So, I mean, he didn't allow any walks, hits. Paredes usually comes in. I think the first hitter he faced was Rafael Devers, and it was a 3-0 count. He came back to strike him out, and then he was okay after that. But it's just when Paredes comes in and I see ball, 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 I'm like, all right, here we go again. But he did okay, and then, he got that 1 inning, and then Nivaldo Rodriguez basically just mop-up duty here, getting the next 6 outs, the last 2 innings there, but did give up an earned run, 2 hits. I think he gave up a home run. I think he did. It was to, I think it was Renfroe, Hunter Renfroe. Let me double check that here. Yeah, Renfroe took him deep for a home run, but Nivaldo Rodriguez is basically just up right now to fill a spot, and I mean, I don't think you're going to see a lot from him this year. Just, yeah. But, yeah, he came in and at least got the final 6 outs to close out that game at 11-2. So not a whole lot of issues in that game. But that was actually an important game, at least from my point of view, because you lost those 2 tough games to San Diego on Friday and Saturday, got one back on Sunday, and then getting the win here sort of eliminated those 2 games in a sense. So that was a big one for us. And now you look at winning 2 of 3 to take the series. The Astros win on Tuesday and Wednesday, 5-1. Or wait, yeah, 5-1 and 2-1. So the 5-1 game, Astros had 1 in the first. Altuve hit another home run. It was 2-1 there for a while, but the 3-run 7th really helped the Astros to really open it up a little bit there. As Miles Straw, I guess, had an RBI sort of force out. Correa, they walked in a run with the Correa walk, and then Alvarez singled. But that 3-run 7th really made things a little bit easier going into the late innings there. But Luis Garcia, once again, was fantastic. So he goes 7 innings, and he throws 100. Let's see here if I can find this. 106 pitches for Garcia. 100, yeah, that's good there. But only 1 earned run, struck out 6, walked a batter, gave up 5 hits, but letting him go 7 there, I think, was good. So, Dusty's actually, I've been critical of him a lot this year. I think a lot of it's been, rightfully so, but the way he managed things this week, I've been happy with. Brooks Raley came in. He had a clean inning, struck out a guy, and then Stanek finished off the game with 2 strikeouts in the 9th inning there. So the bullpen hanging in there, but our starters going 6-7 innings usually is a good sign. Like I mentioned, less outs, less innings our bullpen has to pitch, usually the better. So, but winning that 5-1. Now Wednesday game was the iffy one, because usually if you're in a close game late innings, I don't have a lot of faith to close that out. But we did that 2-1 there. I always have to re-find my spot when I'm looking at my phone here. So, but this was the Framber Valdez start, only his second start back. Obviously his first start he wasn't bad, but only went 4 2/3 innings. Pitch count ran up. He gave up like 2 runs, I think. That was a Friday game, which they ended up blowing, I think, late in the game. He actually only gave up 1 run in that outing, but it was not that. He didn't get through 5, so obviously the pitch count was 70-ish or so pitches, so didn't go very far, but gets through 7 innings in this game, and he throws 102 pitches. So it was good. That's the way these starters, I think, should be used. If they're pitching well, let them get to 100 and see how far they can get you. But 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run, struck out 10, walked only 2. So Fromber had that breaking ball working well for him there. Stanek comes in, clean inning. Presley comes in. He actually allows 2 hits, but does get the save, struck out a batter. So it wasn't necessarily an easy inning for Presley, but no harm done, no runs. And the Astros' record in 1-run games isn't very good, so getting that one there, I think, was. So winning those 3, Thursday's game was, getaway afternoon matinee day game. Not very good. Odorizzi obviously gave up the 3-run home run, I believe, to J.D. Martinez early in that game. It was one of those first, second row Crawford box shot home runs, which Odorizzi, after his first start, actually in his post-game press conference, talked about pitching to the ballpark, because he's given up those home runs in the early or the front rows of the Crawford boxes, and he's talked about sort of maneuvering or sort of finding a way to pitch to the ballpark's dimensions, I guess. But yeah, it wasn't a great start after he had a pretty good one the previous Saturday playing the Padres and getting through 5 1/3, but Odorizzi wasn't very good. But the offense also didn't do a whole lot of. They didn't really give him much of a chance either. So we only scored 1 meaningless home run, like in the 9th inning. I think Gurriel hit a solo shot, but other than that, there wasn't a whole lot. It was just that game just had a bad feeling all the way through. But not a game they necessarily needed. Would have been nice to sweep them, 4-game set and all, but taking 3 or 4, I wasn't going to be upset if they weren't able to finish the deal. And the Astros have had these opportunities. Was it the Angels where they had a chance to sweep a 4-game set? Or that might have been 2 at home. But Seattle, I think it was, where we had a chance to finish off. We've had opportunities to sweep some teams and really, put them down, but we haven't been able to do it. But again, I'm not going to be complaining if we just win series all year. And the Astros have done a good job. Aside from that Padres series, the Astros, I'm actually curious to look at this now, so let's see real quick. Well, I guess they were doing well because they had, so they lost 2 or 3 to the Yankees, but they had beaten L.A. 3 or 4, Seattle 2 or 3, Tampa Bay 2 or 3, lost 2 or 3 to New York, but you bounced back, beat Toronto 2 or 3, L.A. 2 or 3, Texas, you swept them in a 4-game set. You go on the road to Oakland, you win 2 or 3, and then you go to Texas, get swept. Split with the Dodgers, losing 2 or 3 to San Diego, and then you bounce back with 3 or 4 against Boston and 2 or 3 over the weekend here against Toronto. So the Astros have done pretty good. That Rangers series was a bad one. Obviously the San Diego series, but other than those two, you go back to late April when they had that stretch of losing 9 of 10. But all in all, the Astros have done pretty good taking care and winning series this year. But yeah, just a quick check on that game here to give you a line. Yeah, Odorizzi only got through 3 innings, 4 hits, 300 runs, which was that home run. He also walked 3 hitters, struck out 2. 7.16 on the ERA, but that's only his 5th start, and one of those starts, his 3rd of the year. He only got 1 out, and then, Kent Emanuel came in. By the way, update on Kent Emanuel, he's out for the year, so, yeah. Talked about Kenny Manuel not being used in, big spots. That was a Dusty Baker criticism I had. I thought Kenny Manuel should have gotten more time in some more high-leverage spots. Obviously didn't happen, and I guess it won't happen at all this year because we won't see him again. But Paredes actually came in to get the 4th inning, so this was another I mean, at this point, you're down 3-0, so it's not like the game's out of hand or anything, but Paredes did have a clean inning. Well, he walked a batter, struck out a guy, but again, trying to build confidence there with Paredes. Javier got through 3 innings, but he gave up 2 earned runs, walked 3, so he struggled with walks. Did strike out 6 guys, so that's Javier, though. He'll walk some hitters, he'll give up some hard hits, but he can also strike people out, so. And then Joe Smith came in, and Blake Taylor both had a clean inning. So Taylor's first game back, he gave up a hit but struck out 2. So we'll see what we get with Taylor. But again, Taylor, it's hard to really get a read on him because he had three outings, I think, before he went on the IL, and then his 3 outings prior to his IL stint wasn't very good. But we'll see what we get from Rayleigh here. Blake Taylor. So yeah, that's where we're at there. But taking 3 or 4 and then going to Toronto over the weekend here. Friday they absolutely kill him. 13-1. Zach Greinke went a complete game. So that's our first complete game all year. Obviously giving our bullpen a rest. But he was great. 6 hits, 1 earned run. Only struck out 3, walked a hitter. Gave up a solo home run, but 3.38 ERA. So that's been moving down for Greinke. I think it was up over 4 at one point. So Greinke's 6-2 on the year. Done a very good job, I feel like. When we've needed a start, especially we had a lot of starters not going deep into games for a while, but when we've needed a start to actually a guy to go 6, 7, 8 innings. I feel like Greinke's answered the bell there. I feel like he's done a good job doing that. So that was good to see. And of course, our offense went crazy. Maldonado had a big grand slam. Correa had 2 home runs. So the offense really broke out against a good pitcher for Toronto. Hyun-Jin Ryu, I think was his name. Sounds right. He was sort of their ace, but the Astros did a good job there, winning that in the complete game. Obviously, good to give our bullpen a day off there. They do lose on Saturday. This was not a good start for Urquidy. Astros had an early base running blunder. Altuve trying to take an extra 90 feet on a ground out, and he got thrown out at third base. Also, Miles Straw got thrown out coming around, not sliding, as he was coming home on a base hit. The Astros did score first. Miles Straw drew a bases-loaded walk, but Joe Panik and Guerrero Jr. both hit big home runs that really put that game over the top. Panik with a 3-run shot, Guerrero with a 2-run shot. But Urquidy was charged with 6 earned runs, so he did not look very good there. At that point, we were sort of behind the 8 ball. But yeah, we didn't even really threaten it coming back there. 6-2 was the final there. I'm going to try to find this box score here. But Urquidy, so 4 1/3, 9 hits, 6 earned runs, struck out 5, didn't walk anybody, but those 2 big home runs really were. That was the tough part for Urquidy there. Paredes, an inning and 2/3. You got 5 outs actually. Walked 2 guys, that's about right, but struck out 2. Didn't allow any runs, gave up a hit. So Paredes, that's his 3rd straight outing where it's not been high leverage. Starting to, get to a point where we can maybe trust him a little bit. But ERA down to 4.50. Smith came in, Joe Smith. He gave up a hit, struck out a guy, but got through the inning unscathed. 6.23 ERA for him. Blake Taylor gets the 9th, walked a guy, but struck out to 4.91 ERA for him. Urquidy's ERA goes up to 3.76. Takes the loss, so he's 4-3 on the year. But, yeah, losing this game, obviously, just wanting to win today, which the Astros did a good job. Winning the finale here, the rubber game, taking 2 of 3. Altuve had a big leadoff home run, which got him on the board early. You had Luis Garcia on the mound. He was fantastic again. So Dusty did say in the post-game press conference he was dealing with a cold. He was sort of sick. So He only went six and didn't, throw a whole bunch of pitches. Obviously, he had a full workload the prior start, so maybe getting him out there. And we were watching this game today, and I was just thinking to myself, it was 6-1. You took Garcia out after six, and then in the eighth inning, you gave up. This was feeling a lot like the Saturday game, the worst loss of the year against San Diego a few Saturdays ago, but just last Saturday actually. But you were up 6-1 in that game. Joe Smith gave up 2 runs in the eighth inning, just like we did here. 6-3 going to the ninth. Fernando Tatis obviously hit the 3-run shot, and Guerrero would have been up with sort of the tying run if they had, but luckily Presley came in and sort of shut the door. But for a second there, this was feeling a lot like Saturday's game. But yeah, so quick scoring update. Obviously, I talked about Altuve hitting the leadoff home run. McCormick hit his 5th home run of the year, so when Bradley comes back, I think McCormick's going to get some chances out there in center field. I think that, he's earned a chance to outplay Miles Straw if he can. But yeah, they gave us 2 quick runs. Lourdes Gurriel hit a sac fly for trying to put them on the board. But then Tucker had a 2-run single, so that was big there to stretch it to 4-1. And then we scored a 5th run on it was an error, actually. I think Maldonado hit one to first, and first baseman there, Tellez, I think is his name. Yeah, Rowdy Tellez. Sort of booted it off to his right, went to go run it down. Almost, initially they called Maldi out at first, but reviewed the play, and then he ended up being safe, which scored the run because the bases were loaded at that point. There were 2 outs, though, but that was a good... All these tack-on runs are good to get, especially with the bullpen the way it can be. So, and then Gurriel in the 8th there, yeah, had an RBI single to make it 6-1. But yeah, Garcia, 5th straight win, 5th straight start. His last 5 decisions, his last 5 wins. But ERA down to 2.75, so Luis Garcia's looked very good, and there's no way. I don't know how far Lance McCullers is away from coming back, but I don't see how you take Luis Garcia out of this rotation right now the way he's been. Rayleigh comes in, inning in the 3rd, clean, struck out a batter, 6.56 ERA going down for him. Stanek struggled. He came in the 8th there to get the final 2 outs, which he did do. But he gave up 2 hits, 2 earned runs, walked a guy. Was not very great, but ERA there. Aside from Presley, I think Stanek's got the lowest ERA of anybody in the bullpen. At 3.86 it was after today's game, which tells you all you need to know about the bullpen. But and then Presley did walk a batter in the 9th, but he got through it just fine. So his 9th save, 9th and 10 tries. So he's been good. 2.15 ERA or 2.16 for Presley. ERA was at or below 1. That 3-run shot he gave to Tatis really ballooned the ERA last Saturday, but I don't know how, in what way. Taylor Jones missed the pop-up that would have ended the game. I don't know how he wasn't charged with an error for that, but that's part of the reason his ERA is actually that high at 2.16. But getting the win 6-3 and actually closing out the series, getting the series wins all big for the Astros. So good things continue to go. Obviously trying to get Brantley back this week. Obviously no real update on McCullers. Talked about Diaz out 6 to 8 weeks with a fractured hand. He was hit by a pitch. Yeah, I mentioned that on Saturday. So it did not look good at the time, and we were just waiting for x-rays, and yeah. But we weren't very optimistic about, that being a quick recovery or a quick sort of turnaround for Diaz there. But anyway, so think about it, obviously the Astros, the only issue that I see, I mean, the offense is good. Starting staff's been great. It's just the bullpen. You get those close games, late innings, you just don't, your starter goes 5 or 6 and you're in a close tie game. You're up a run, 2 runs, 3 runs. Getting those outs to get to Presley is the issue. Bridging the gap from starter to Presley is the issue for the Astros. Obviously, didn't really have big issues this week. They were good. Hopefully that continues to be the case. But obviously we're into June baseball now. So think about trade deadline. I think that's at the end of the July. It's like the last day in July. And obviously that's 2 months away. I get that. But the Astros, for me to think that they can compete in the playoffs, they would need to add 1 or 2 arms in that bullpen, guys that are reliable, guys you can trust to get big outs in big situations. I think that's, things stay the way they are now, and it's this way for the next, month and a half or whatever it is. The Astros need to be looking to acquire at least 1, but probably 2 arms in the bullpen to help you. If they're able to do that, I think that they could definitely make some noise in the playoffs and actually make a deep run. So, I mean, I just want to throw that out there because I think that's what it's going to take. Unless, I've said this, but, when McCullers comes back, you have a decision to make. And this isn't an easy decision. These are decisions you like to have. It's like, who's the odd man out? Because you got all these guys, but obviously you're not taking Greinke out of the rotation. Framber Valdez, you can't take him out of the rotation. Odorizzi, you paid him too much to take him out of the rotation. Now, you can make that same case with McCullers, 5 years, $85 million, but we'll talk about that in a second. Urquidy's too good to take out of the rotation, and Garcia. You can't really take any of those guys, I feel like, out of the rotation. And I don't think you go with a 6-man rotation. I think Lance McCullers, where he's most valuable to the team, is in the bullpen. And I know McCullers does not want to be a bullpen pitcher. But I think to do what's best for the team, I think McCullers in that bullpen could be a huge boost. You just think about McCullers, the stuff he's got, and if he was an 8th inning or even your closer, for him to just let things loose in 1 inning with his fastball, his breaking ball, he could be huge. But I think that's where he adds the most value. The most value is in the bullpen, actually. And if you disagree or if you have another idea, please leave that in the comment section below. But I just think about it, and I think McCullers in the bullpen would be a huge boost for the team. That's the way I see it. Obviously, he's making a lot of money. That was kind of a weird decision. I mean, obviously, signing McCullers, it's just he's got a big injury history. He's never pitched more than 130 innings in any one of his years, obviously. So, and him going on the IL is nothing new. It's an annual, yearly trip to the IL for Lance McCullers. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Dusty does. I highly doubt that will happen. Obviously, if I was calling the shots, I would sit down with McCullers and say, "Listen, I know you're not going to be a fan of this, but I need you to be a team player here, and we see you most valuable in the back end of our bullpen, closing out games or setting things up for Presley." Maybe that would happen in the playoffs, so we'll wait and see. Obviously, playoffs, a lot of starters will move to your bullpen, things like that. So I don't know. We'll see what Dusty does. I don't think that they'll do that, but again, I don't know who else you take out of the rotation, put in that bullpen. So, and obviously, you bring McCullers back, and let's say he gets a few starts, and then he's back on the IL because that's usually what he does. So, I mean, it's a tough one. But anyway, last podcast last week, 52 minutes. So that was a rather long podcast, especially for only 5 games. But had a lot to talk about. A lot of criticism towards Dusty Baker last week. So I cooled it this week, and I liked a lot of the moves he made. So I can't be too upset there. Going up close to 30 minutes here. So obviously, one more thing. Next week, I should have a different setup. Obviously, what you see now is, of course, my diploma over here. I got trophies and bobbleheads behind me, and you got sort of my curtains here. But next week will probably look different because I have furniture coming in tomorrow, and I'll be setting up my entire room here differently. So obviously I'll set things up next week, but I expect things to look different. In fact, the dresser that this computer's on right now will be moved. In fact, I won't even have this dresser anymore, so we'll see. But yeah, give this podcast a like, a listen, share it with your friends. All that good stuff on YouTube. Also, comment section below. Love to hear your thoughts. Definitely respond if response is warranted down there. But yeah, we'll talk next Sunday night. Obviously, every Sunday night, and we'll let's see here. I need to look at the schedule. So they go to Boston, have an off day tomorrow. They go to Boston for 3, and then they continue their road trip in Minnesota for 3. So that'll be that'll finish up the road trip before they come back home there. So, but again, hopefully, just taking the series. If you can take both series, you go 4-2. I'll be happy with that. Quick standings update. Before I don't want to forget this here, but Oakland still leads us by a game. And Seattle's down 5 games out. LA and Texas, I don't think any 3 of those teams have a chance here, but I think the Astros are okay. 33-26. I think that's what I said earlier. I might have said 34-27, but 33-26, their record there. So, yeah. But we're okay. Game out. In fact, if the Astros would actually have the second spot in the wild card spot if actually things were to end today. But, yeah. So, anyway. Wrap things up there. 31 and a half minutes, almost 32 here. But yeah, we'll wrap things up there, and we'll talk to you next Sunday night.